Okay, thank you everyone for joining Zine Club. Today I'm very excited to have the co-founders of the first ever in LA Black Zine Fest that just happened. So I want to hear all about how it was created and by the co-founders here and everything that led you up to that event. We have our Zine Club every other week, and I noticed some of our members were there, such as John Dishwasher, who's on the call now, and some of us very excited to see that, and I want to hear more. And Zine Club, it's an informal gathering, and we're just here to learn about Zine Fest and Zine Makers and Zine events in LA. And I'm a young adult librarian with the Los Angeles Public Library. And we have a zine collection here. People can check out zines, make zines, or add zines. And I like to go to Zine Fest and trade zines and to get zines. And also, of course, if I have a budget, buy zines as well. So, without further ado, please take it away and reintroduce yourselves for everyone that may not have read the bios or met you. Let me make you co-host. Go ahead and thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Take it away.
Thanks for having us. Ooh.
Spotlight.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julie.
I'm Oumou. My pronouns are my name, she, and they.
And mine are she and hers. I'm so nervous.
Do you want to go first?
No, you go.
Okay, so welcome to us and our little event and what we thought was gonna be something kind of like small and intimate ended up being something like way bigger than we ever could have dreamed. We are the co-founders of Zines for Queers and also the co-founders of Black Zine Fest. We created this idea a couple of honestly like within the past year, and it was truly after going out into the world and attending lots of vendor markets and attending lots of zine fairs and always looking out for the specific like Black and or queer, right, vendors specifically and zinesters specifically, and not finding them often. We always were either one of two or the only ones in the room. And so that was part of our desire to like create this event and have it be whatever it looked like. But what it ended up looking like was really incredible. And I think that was due to Julie's like brilliant creativity as well as my Virgo precision.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would describe it. I think we really just felt like we went to a lot of zine fairs and saw like different zine fairs and like events themed towards different groups, but we'd never seen like an all like specifically all Black Zine Fest. Um, and so that was really cool to kind of just put the call out there and then have so many people be interested and apply, especially with us being like essentially two random people just doing it.
Yeah, not having like a collective or like a group or like,
an
organization backing, and it just being two very passionate human beings.
That was an interesting part, but also a really fun part. And I feel like people could really relate to the like homegrown aspect of it. Just in the nature of zines, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be, sponsored or like a huge type of
corporate energy vibe
to start out. But yeah, so that's really like how we thought about, or like how we came to wanting to do the fest. But then the actual execution of it was so interesting and challenging at times.
Why? Tell them why.
Was
this your first time doing something like this?
Yeah, this is my first time doing something of this scale for sure. And though like we've like kind of done event planning before, it like hasn't been something like this. So just kind of like all the moving parts that come with, planning a fest like that, like the applications and the websites and the information and the graphics and like the social media aspect of it all is so hard. It really felt like work, like a full-time job to really be on it and like tell people about it. And like that was a hard part too, like figure out how to get the information out there. But I think it helped that people were just so excited to see the idea coming to life that they just were sharing it naturally also, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And then um
Related to the logistics, I
yes.
think I'll add as the Virgo logistics execution planner part of the duo here. With the with our intention with the event, just like looking however it was going to look, we didn't expect the the amount of vendors, I think, interest that was coming in. And so one of the things that I think was a little difficult was saying no to people. Right? Because we only had a space for a specific number of people. And so we had to figure out how to make those decisions and also honor that like every zinester that applied was amazing. Every zinester that applied had lots of like intention and care and like, you know, just lots of love for the art of zining, but we couldn't take everyone. And so we had to, I think, practice figuring out how we were going to say no and like also make decisions about who we were going to say no and maybe why. And so I think there were like different levels of decision making that were a part of it that I don't think is like something that they necessarily like. There's no maybe if someone should make a zine of it. There's no zine that tells you like this is a very important part of having a zine fest. You have to say no to people, and this is how you can say no to people. So we tried to make it so that the zinesters that were told no got a what's the word I'm looking for? Free admission to the event so that they could come with another friend and get to experience the event even though they didn't get to vend at the event. So that was like a caring thing that we made sure to account for in some of our planning. So that's definitely something I think that feels important to name. That was a big part of the beginning stages of it. Saying no to so many like sweet humans.
Yeah. But it's like also exciting to know that people are just like, staying invested, and hopefully we continue to get to throw this event and can make it bigger and can have every single Black zinester be a part of it in some way. That's definitely a dream. And I think also what we noticed after the event is just how impactful it was to kind of see the community IRL and like realize how much people like wanted it and just like all the things that could come from that. Like, okay, like now we've got all these Black zinesters in a room. Like, what else can we do together? Yeah, like let's make more zines or like do other events. And that part was really cool.
Yeah. Another logistical thing that I want to name as the Virgo in the room, something that we really tried to be intentional about because we've experienced it ourselves, was making sure that we didn't make the vendors one of our primary customers for how we were going to make money.
Yeah. That's like one of my big gripes with vendor markets. Okay, if I can get on my soapbox, like especially in a city like LA, like there's so many flea market, vendor market type of events, and then they become like something, instead of being something to help the vendors, like it becomes like its own business. You know what I mean? Like sometimes some of these people that are holding these markets, like they're not really invested in your experience as a vendor. They just kind of collect their vendor fee, give you the space, and they're like, whatever you do is your problem. And like some people might be into that. I get it. Like that's the grind, but
for sure,
it doesn't really feel like good. It's still work. You know what I mean? And I think there's something to be said for realizing that like, what could it look like if instead of treating your vendors like customers, like another place you're getting money from, if you realize, oh, we're actually business partners and it's in all of our best interest to like feel good doing this. And really just like
take care of one another while doing this
and like be successful together. It's like if you're doing well, that's great for me. If I'm doing well, that's great for you. And part of that was even something just like having food for our vendors. That was something that everybody loved so much. And we were like, we just got some pizza and everybody was like, this has literally never happened.
We gave them a break. People got breaks so that they could go eat their pizza in this cute little break room that we had in the back. And that was like a caring decision that we intentionally tried to make, right? How can we have an event where people are not just working and having to exploit themselves in order to pay rent. I would love for it to be like a nice little event where they make some money, but then they also are like feeling care. And that's a really big part of our intentionality with building out the event. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So they enjoy the breaks and the event and meeting each other.
Yeah,
I'd say it was successful.
definitely. And so hopefully we continue to make events and co-create events where people are able to just like create, people are able to show up and feel cared for, and it's not this like other place where there's exploitation and extraction happening. Because I feel like we are all, especially Black people, especially if we're Black and maybe disabled and other things connected to that, we're already experiencing like lots of nonsense in other places in the world. And so I'd love for the zine space to be a place where there is something different happening.
Word.
Yeah. Do people have questions? Reflections?
Kind of just like,
Yeah, on the day LA, LA Zine Fest, really big, huge event. But part of like when we made a decision to have the venue that we chose, we made sure that like part of our decision making was not getting a venue that we ourselves between us couldn't afford without the vendors.
especially like because
Yeah.
we're able to get a sponsor, but that didn't come until like
Much
much
later.
later. And so we also still like fronted like
A portion
over
of it.
a good portion of the cost. So
I
Just
feel like there's a lot of like spaces and causes at this direct moment in time where you can find spaces that will facilitate what you need and for what you want, you know. You don't have to compromise. I don't feel like, at least.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Katie Brown got to see the magic of the day of volunteer, right? That really offered.
Awesome.
That was another thing.
Oh yeah,
The volunteers were here.
The volunteer support was really so incredible. Like people were just like, we have so many ideas. We are so what's the word? Just like self-directed. Like, okay, got
I think
it.
this would work. And then they come and tell us, and then we're like, go off, have fun.
Yeah.
And so we accepted every single volunteer that wanted to volunteer because we thought the more the merrier. If there's too many volunteers, then like worst case scenario, they have fun and chill out at a very cute event.
But
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like I want to vend at L.A. Zine Fest, and I give away my zines. Like my zine, I get like I self fund and or get donations, and I mostly give away my zines. And so like for me to pay $150 for a full table, I can take that money, just print zines, and I'll just go and give them out. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
for me, that's like I don't make zines to pay my rent. I make zines to heal myself, to have fun, to create. That is a
People
privilege.
that use it to pay their rent.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is a privilege, and I know that, like also, as a zinester, that's like, you know, realizing that the economy is turning. You know, I'm going to these events now, and I'm realizing that like we also have to hold space to like just make activities happen for people too. You know, like I just went to an event recently. And like, I don't feel like it's the same spirit too. Like, I feel like a lot of people have guilt around spending money. And I'm seeing that like that is also a need that I want to try and help fulfill this year. Make space for just play. Don't come spend money. Like I actually, there was something, maybe this is a space to talk about it. Back in 2014, I went to Brooklyn Museum and I went to this really cool experience called Barter Town. And so it just pretend like you're at a fair, but there's no money. You can't bring money. Money's not welcome. You have to either barter your art or a sticker or a conversation, whatever the person is willing to trade for the service or good that you're going to get. Like I got a haircut for a sticker. I got a coffee for a conversation. Like it's again, it's just a social experiment, but like it was really cool and it was like a really great experience. I'd love to bring that to SoCal. I have no idea how to facilitate it. But these are things that like I think people are kind of interested in given the climate right now.
Yeah.
Like free things and not free things for sure.
Yeah, like
diversity of the stuff.
Yeah, just like let's go. I mean, what would it be like to just literally set up an N64 on a projector and say have fun? Like, you know, here's some crayons. I dare you to draw the best birds, I don't know, smoking a vape. Like I don't know, like whatever, like, and then like at the end of the day, you have sponsors that like maybe like pick the best, whatever bird smoking a vape, and that's the winner of the zine thing or whatever. I'm just trying to create alternate things like that don't really revolve around a person spending money, because at the end of the day, I'm seeing that is deterring people from going to events because they're trying to be good. I'm not going to spend money this weekend. I'm going to go out and have a hike, or I'm going to go out and save money or whatever. And then that for the people that want to, create it takes away from the traffic that could be there. Or if something is so special they need to buy it, they will, because they put themselves at the event to just like whatever, to have fun. And maybe it's the opportunity to buy something, like, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So yeah, that's my energy for this next 2 quarters. I'm gonna put something together.
Period. We'll be hearing about it.
Yeah.
Arthur?
Ooh.
Oh. No, I'm just gonna.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Hey, Arthur.
Hi.
Hey. You talked about rejection and that, and I was like really interested in like that kind of conversation. Did my first baby zine, applied, didn't get it. Cool. Embraced the disappointment. Well, worked on dispelling any resentment that would come from this. But
Totally.
I do think about trying to like that rapport, right? Like this whole experience was a teaching moment. So, even the disappointment of not getting in was still something worth learning. But also, how do you like connect with that? Like how does somebody like myself, like who's never done this before, has something and wants to do this, how do we have that conversation? In particular, being Black and queer.
Yes. Do you want to answer first, or should I?
You got it.
I got
it.
it.
Your brain
Moving.
Yeah, go on.
So my answer is informed by my like chaos energy / like trier and experiment energy of the more that I try things, the more that I practice, the more that I put myself out there and allow myself to be witnessed and seen and experienced, and my work as well, the better my muscle around this will be. And so, right, you have your first little zine that you made and you are really proud of it, and you apply and you don't get into this one event. That doesn't mean that this one event will never accept you. That doesn't mean that you're never going to accept it to another event in your whole entire life. In fact, that might mean, wow, I wonder how I could make this one zine better, or add to my catalog of zines, so that maybe the pressure isn't just on this one zine to be like the main whatever of my
that represents your entire like, creative identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That part.
And I think just like removing, I'm somebody who's very rejection sensitive in general, and I think it's very hard to not like take it personally. And so what I'm finding around that is like, just like Oumou said, like it's a muscle, like understanding that what you create and the value of that is completely independent of the way that it's perceived, whether that perception is through the form of something that you apply to, through somebody's opinion on your thing. Like everything is not for everybody. Everybody can't like do everything at the same time and like at the same, you know what I mean? Like there's just so many factors that really 99% of the time have nothing to do with you and what you've created. And so it's just building up that confidence to continue creating regardless, and to apply again to the thing. And then like, I love this quote, but it's like,
when you get go, it scares me.
Because it's gonna sound like really evangelical, but I don't mean it like that. You know that how they say like God's rejection is your protection, your redirection? Period. Skip that. Whatever. My point is the whole like when one door closes, another one opens thing, or like, yes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's kind of just like where I live when it comes to that. And then just like, don't think that if you don't get into an event with an org that like you're like blacklisted from that thing, and like they don't ever want to see anything that you make again. Like That's also not
Yeah.
the vibe.
At least not with these two Black queer people. I don't know what happens with those other people out there in the world. Like, that's their business. But for us
Yeah.
at Black Zine Fest and at Zines for Queers, we just love it. We just love zines, and we love the people that want to like be a part of our zine world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a Virgo logistical thing. I have to say that we did say no to a small percentage of people because they applied, but they didn't apply with any reference material for their zine. And so what I mean by that is like we asked for either like a Google Drive to their zine, or we asked
Example
for a
or
picture of their
sample of
zine,
something.
like a sample something. And so it was just like we didn't have enough time to do follow-up with multiple people to get the things that we would need in order to make a decision. And so there was just like a logistical thing that we made a decision not to do, which was like to follow up with people that like gave us incomplete applications.
Yeah.
Because there were
yeah.
so many things going on that like that was just too much to like have to interact with at the stage that we were at in choosing vendors. And so that was like a very hard but also easy no to just be like, we can't do anything with these people right now.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah.
Nice. Someone had asked in the chat, how did you guys go about asking for volunteers? Well, some people started reaching out before we even put a call out, which was really cool. And then we also created a Google form for interest. And so we just like made the form and then like posted the link on our Instagram. And within a day had like 10 volunteers that had signed up. So that was just like, oh, cool. And then I just handed the list over to the Virgo, and she just made a chart, made a timeline, created ships.
Yeah.
And that was so smooth.
Yeah.
Oh, John Dishwasher asked, are you comfortable telling us what your criteria was for saying no? Okay.
So the incomplete application was one of the no's.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think, like, putting into words, like, so it was tough because also we wanted to have a good balance of the zinesters and like what kind of zines were there and a good balance of like, first time zinesters who maybe had like one or two zines versus like people who had, a more like a bigger library or something. So there was a bit of just balancing numbers wise with that. There was balancing in terms of people who requested half tables versus full tables, and just like what would fit in the space. The application completeness, like Moo mentioned.
Yeah. There's also, we wanted to like be intentional about not having 10 photography zines, right? And 10 graphic artist zines. Because yes, those are all really every zinester that comes in has heat, and it's always magical. And I'm always like, wow, this is so cool. And we wanted people who like maybe have never attended a zine fair to come and be able to experience like a better palette and buffet of zinesters. Yeah. And so if we, let's say, had gone through the application one by one and had already gotten 3 zinesters that were drawing their own zines and were like comic style artists, maybe, then we put a cap on those zinesters. And so anyone else that applied after that, they just like maybe just weren't able to be considered as best as possible because of that reason, right? We've already seen enough through this list that we're going through.
But I also will say, like, just since doing this the first time, of course, I think we learned so much in the way that we created the application process and like what people sent us. And I think it's going to give us a lot of information for the next time and like what kinds of things to ask for and look for, and like also a better idea of like just how the application translates to like, I don't know, the space, if that makes sense. Like I could definitely see like all of the people that we couldn't accept, like they all could have fit, like their content could have fit in the, or their, not their content, their work definitely like thematically would have worked great in the event. It just would have been a matter of space and balance that like we had to cut it down.
And we could have unethically chose to take every single one, and I'm sure it would have fit in the space that we chose. But then, what about the considerations for just like
the capacity of the space, the accessibility of the space, like
people not being shoulder to shoulder in an event, which I've hated to be like my back is to another zinester. Like that's really intense for my neurodivergent senses. And so we wanted to like have that be a consideration as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what we thought about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is this space next year going to be same, different?
Good question. Hopefully bigger. We've got lots of ideas about how we would like to see it expanded, and like, what else we could have if we had a different type of space, or like maybe even a multi-day something with like, events within the fest.
Zine workshops of sorts.
Right.
And readings, maybe.
Yeah. So I think, like we said, we've learned a lot, and we're excited to like, get to know more people in the zine community who could also just like let us know what they know and like where to look for things and stuff like that.
Yeah. We also really, really like, this is my big girl dream. I really want to be in a space. We really want to be in a space where we can pay vendors to show up.
Oh yeah.
Right. So like instead of people paying a vendor fee to have access to a space, maybe we as the organizers pay them to gift us their time
as workers at our event,
because that's what's happening, right? Like people are gifting us. If no vendor showed up, we would have an empty space and no event.
Yeah,
that's the truth of it. And so we really want to be in a place where even if the fee is like we pay everyone $10 and we don't ask for a vendor fee because we have everything else handled, that would be really yummy. Imagine you show up to an event and the organizer pays you money to be there, and then you also sell your things and then you make money.
Yeah dreams.
Sorry, I was on mute. Someone in the chat said workshops and readings would be so cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, John asks, what was the hardest part?
Do you have the hardest part?
I think it was for me. Good question.
It's a good question.
What was the hardest part? I'd say it was a toss up between saying no to people and the consistent nagging tiny little fear and self-doubt when you've never done this particular thing before, where it's like, what if nobody applies? What if nobody shows up? What if they come with tomatoes and toilet paper and kick us out and tell us pack it up? I don't know, lots of worst case scenarios. I have been known to be anxious. So there's that. So it's just kind of hard to like remember why we were doing it. Remember that we obviously are not the only Black zinesters around, and people would find it and people would be interested. And just trusting that like others would enjoy our vision. So that was kind of like a consistent like mental hurdle, perhaps.
Perchance.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah. My answer for the hardest part, as the person in charge of the volunteers and kind of also the person in charge of like ensuring that the vendors were feeling care as well, it was, I think, sometimes difficult to try to do all the planning to ensure that the volunteers were where, it made sense. I'd have to do like lots of like in real time decision making, which can sometimes be a little depleting for me because I like to spend as little time as possible, if I can, doing active thinking. And so to be doing that kind of thinking at that kind of intensity with like real time repercussions and consequences, I think was the hardest part, but I'm also really great at it, so it ended up just fine.
Yes,
Yeah.
that it did.
Yeah. We both chose the roles that we were supposed to have in this event, and I think that that's also like a really another brilliant thing to choose people to like do these things with intention and with like planning. And so if you feel like, oh my gosh, I would love to see a zine event focused on I don't know,
Hand stitching.
then you and a couple of zinesters together could create that event yourselves. You don't have to wait for some person to like host the event so that you could apply and be a part of it. You yourselves could be like, okay, do we have $20 between the three of us? Cool. Do we have a park we could go to for free? Cool. Do we have, blankets to lay on? Yes. Is there a way for us to share this with our friends? Social media's free? Cool. Let's get the word out there. And then now you have a thing that you and your zine buddies have created.
Yeah. There's a chat question. Love to do workshops and readings, of any Black zine gatherings, workshop meetups in the West Valley area. We do not know of any Black zine gatherings except for the ones we plan to host. So follow us, Zines for Queers, on Instagram.
We just did an event called Pages in the Park. Pages in the
Oh my God,
Park.
I knew you were gonna do
Pages in the Park.
Here.
But when are we doing it?
Yeah,
it was really
it was
fun.
cool. And like Katie was saying earlier, it was cool that it was just like in the park, free. We just brought all the zines that we've been collecting over the years, and we just read zines in the park with people. And I think that felt like a good balance too. Like, we'll have some paid events and some free events, obviously, because it's nice to have free things to do. Especially as it relates to zines.
Yeah.
Another question, how did you decide on the guidelines for applications, like making clear to zinesters what you wanted from an applicant? Yeah, so we really just referenced applications from Zine Fest that we've done and vendor markets that we've done, and adding in that care portion that Moo was talking about the best that we could. So we essentially asked like the logistical questions of like, who are you? What are your zines about? What are you into? Why do you want to vend here? And then care related questions of like, what are your access needs? What do you like, what do you hope to get out of this? Like things like that, trying to gauge the best that we could, as much as you can from a application about somebody. And yeah.
And then we also asked for samples of their work and a link to that in whatever ways made sense. And so some people did Google Drive, some people had their work on Canva and offered us a link to their digital work. Some people had websites where they have like a shop, and so they just showed us their shop with all of the different zines that are featured. And so there was like a variety of ways people showcase their work, and we weren't very precise with what it is exactly we were looking for. But we did, for the most part, get what we needed when people did submit the sample itself. Yeah. So we might give like more examples of what we expect in that section for the next time, but we feel like we did a pretty decent job with the application, though we do hope to be able to have a venue secured earlier. How do I say this? Like the timeline of how everything played out, some of the vendors didn't have a large enough window to find out and do planning.
Yeah.
So we hope to be able to like change the order of operations of things for the next time. so that maybe we can offer more information and people are able to do planning and maybe fundraising if they have to a little bit easier. Yeah.
I like the shirts you were wearing in your photo. Who designed those? And how'd you come up with that?
That was me. Yeah, so that was all as it relates to what Uma was talking about earlier, just like, you know, it helping it making the process easier, us just kind of like playing into our strengths. I tend to be the person doing the like graphic designs and the you know, the promo materials and stuff like that. And so with the t-shirts, it's funny because I just love to make little titles and little puns and like say little words, play on words. I'm also a poet, so I guess that's like whatever in the world.
You also love to add more projects to do right before we have to do something big. Yes.
I love adding to my to-do list.
Of course.
And so days before the fest, it hit me in the night, the t-shirt idea. Because I've seen the like corny, you know, tourist t-shirt, like I went to blank and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. And I actually remembered it from a few weeks ago because I was gonna make a zine for the event that was I went to Black Zine Fest and all I got was this lousy zine. But then I was like, okay, I don't need to like add more zines to make before this. But I chose shirts instead because
why not?
Yeah, like it was right there, the lousy shirt thing. And then we just kept that super DIY as well, like literal press on, print out patches on some t-shirts. We were only just gonna make ones for ourselves that said that we hosted. And then literally the night before, we're like, a couple,
like it's free.
whatever.
Free.
Yeah. And then people, of course, like, you know, we should have known, like, people go nuts for a oversized, crappy t-shirt. It never fails. And so that was super fun. We have some that we were selling on our website as well. And I think that'll be another thing that could be improved with more notice, like, and more planning on our part next time too. Like, okay, obviously we're gonna want to make t-shirts, so let's start planning for that sooner. And hopefully, you know, we'll have perhaps more people helping us organizing beforehand and volunteering with us beforehand that could help with that.
Yeah.
So,
because I have another job that's not doing like this stuff.
And I quit my full-time job like last year to do Julie Lansing, which is like zines and other things that I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing. I had a lot of time on my hands, and every day I was like, bro, imagine if I was at my 9 to 5 right now trying to do this in my spare time. It would not have worked. So I'm very grateful that I'm in a position to like not be in a 9 to 5 job right now. And I'm hoping that zines help me allow me to continue doing that.
Oh,
But
I actually want you to tell these people about how they said that poetry zines don't make money, but your poetry zines do well. Tell them.
why even?
Because like I feel like it's important. I feel like it's important because people, you know,
it's true. Yeah. And just
they
like
have to beat you down.
Yeah, it could be tough. Just thinking about like, are zines really like something that I can like make a living off of, and like things related to independent publishing and just independent artistry in general. Like there's just so many reasons to be like, this is not going to work, especially as the economy continues to do whatever. But the thing that has been what's it called, affirming for me is an event like Black Zine Fest, is Zines for Queers, and is also just really just looking at the quality of my life. Like, though I may have less money, it's in the mind, man. You know what I mean? Like, I have so much more spirit and like joy for life and access to my creativity. And really, when I look at like how much a job costs out of my life, I really do think I'm making more money just living living free like this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's really that's keeping me going.
Yeah.
Ooh. Thank you for saying thank you for making it mask required. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that. That was definitely
Part of the care part of it.
yeah, like in the when we initially announced it, we didn't say that part, and we were like using like masks will be strongly encouraged type of languaging. And then this was like November, December.
The surges were surging
like so bad. And then we just started thinking like, what would we lose by making masks required? Nothing. And what would we gain? So much. So like more people would feel safe coming. You know what I mean? Like
people that don't get to go to other events because they're immunocompromised, they're disabled. So they just get pushed out of society, right? And pushed out of this like part of the zine world that they should be a part of inherently because of how like fringe and like hardcore and just badass it is. And so yeah, and I also like I'm not like I have not gotten sick in the intensity at which I used to get sick because I'm wearing masks more. And so even if if COVID wasn't a part of it, like I don't get the flu as often. I don't have strange, coughs lingering in my body over the course of the year. And so it cost us nothing. And we also worked with a mask block. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, Mask Block LA, Long
Beach, Mask Block Long Beach.
Yeah, who helped us getting masks. And we also had some friends who work in like medical spaces who got us some masks. And yeah, another thing that people were just so happy to help volunteering their resources for.
Drop off like COVID tests.
Yeah.
On the day of the event so people could take tests if they wanted.
So yeah, happy about that. And then someone asked, what kind of zines do you both like to make? Anything, everything. I do a lot of poetry zines. That's like what got me started in zines. But they're typically pretty personal. And I like to involve like mixed media as well. I have a zine next to me that I'm working on right now that has been the actual bane of my existence. It's been a practice in exercising my demons, because it's about routines, the zine, and it's been taking me like 6 months to finish it because it's so hard to really stick to a routine. But like also routines for me help me just like feel grounded in life. And so this is the zine. There's like 16 pages, and it's actually something that I created with my therapist because on some days it's kind of like you wake up and you're like, what do I have to do to like get through this day? Like, what are the basics? Wake up, eat, get dressed. So I literally did wake, shake, dress, eat, write, chill, move, play. I almost got done.
You're almost done.
Eat, and then it's kind of veers off because first of all, being responsible for 3 meals a day to feed yourself, that's so much work.
Intense.
Like having to just like take care of yourself and be a person, it is a lot of work. And so then I get to like rest. Got some blank pages. I'm working on finishing it. This is the work page. Blank. I got play. And I got shake and rest. And so this is just like an example of how I use zines to like, I don't know, work through personal problems, obviously. But then also like, other types of zines. Go ahead. So tell everyone about your.
It's not funny. So I am not as a I'm not the best with sharing personal work voluntarily, right? And so the beginning of my work was more like I'm a therapist slash like coach in my daytime. And I was like, okay, maybe I could create something connected to my work and have it be out there in the world in a really beautiful way. So this is a mini zine, and it's part of a series connected to just like things we may have lived without. So this one is called For Those Who Have Lived Without Care. And in it, it has some affirmations. It has some questions to ask yourself, like, what stories, fears, and memories impact my relationship to care today? You know, it has some invitations. And yeah, this is a mini zine. So I have this version of this mini zine, and then I have another version where it's for those who have lived without play. And in the middle of that one, there is a play word search that you can do. I don't have it next to me because I don't know where it's at. Currently, the zine library is in the trunk, I think.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it is, but that's
It's also on our
one.
website, though.
We have a lot of zines on our website. We'll drop the link in the chat now. But because of Black Zine Fest, I finally put out my most personal work ever of my whole life. And it is untitled. And in it, I'm like sharing things about myself that I've just like never like I just don't do a lot of personal sharing in that way. And so it just felt very vulnerable, felt very raw, felt very like, oh my gosh, people are gonna know that I'm a blank, or people are gonna know how blank I am. But it was definitely like a practice in distress tolerance, a practice in vulnerability, a practice in doing a different kind of like allowing myself to be witnessed by people. And so, yeah, my zines are either playful, mental health related, and now or a little slutty, like a sprinkle of slutty, and now a little bit personal.
Yay.
Yeah, those are our zines. Between us, we have how many zines, Julie?
Like 13.
Yeah.
At present.
At present, we have
But catch
13.
me next week. I'm looking at another one of that, hopefully, for our next event.
When's your next event and where?
Ooh.
We're gonna be popping up at Thick Thrift LA. This is their Instagram. This is a flea market, not a zine fest. But we will be there selling zines. It's in downtown. I think tickets are like $5 beforehand. So we'll be there vending our zines.
Yeah.
Oh, what is the name?
And then we don't have any next events planned by us scheduled yet, but we do plan to have another Pages in the Park in the next couple of months, another free version of that, but then also like a version where there's maybe a workshop embedded in it. We plan to do another Black Zine Fest in the next year or less. Or less. We plan to do some Julie focus showcasing in the next year.
Please.
We'll share soon enough about those details. But yeah.
I'll look this into the chair. Can I read that?
Mm-hmm. Those are really amazing. The play and self-care zines. I struggle with being witnessed as I fully am in my life and as an artist, expressing myself in my true voice, something I'm working on. I do the same through these zines. I'm like, this is like a practice of embodiment, like zine embodiment, you know? Ooh.
What?
What's that? A practice of zine embodiment?
Yeah. It's good. And to that point, we are hoping to do zine workshops soon. People have been asking us for that for a long time, and we've been really wanting to do it. And so yeah, that's a big part of it because there's a lot of different resources on like how to make a zine logistically, but I think we have lots of thoughts about like getting in the headspace
and the heart
to kind of like express something in that way that I think could be cool to really share with people.
Yeah.
Thank you for posting the details.
So cool.
You're welcome. Where was your last Pages in the Park, and is your next one going to be at a different park or the same
So
city?
the last one was in like mid-city LA in this park, like I can't even remember the name of the park, but it was a park near like Kenneth Hahn area. And so will we do the same park? Perhaps. we do like being in that area. I feel like, you know, there's obviously like the more popular parks that are like Pan Pacific or like, I don't know,
Waddles or other things that are up
in like West Hollywood or
in West
those areas,
Hollywood.
but we kind of like the idea of doing something kind of central or even more in South LA. But yeah, we'll see. Because it's tough though, because we aren't doing it in a way where we are like pre-reserving spaces in parks, which I don't know. Is anybody doing that?
I don't know what those people are doing.
So it's kind of just like we hope to be able to do it at this spot in the park. Hopefully we don't pull up and there's a birthday party at the park, which happened to us.
That happened to us for the first event. We had to choose a different park very fast.
Not a birthday party, like a fair, like a huge event. So, but yeah, we hope to just keep it like central.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Oh, I want you to tell them about how you have a zine that you're selling for $10,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
I wish I had it near.
I know. I just think it's in the trunk.
Oh.
I
Well, yeah, so
No, you talk, I'll look.
in the vein of thinking of myself as an artist, one of the zines that I made is called The Grief Handbook. And the original one was like hand painted and like drawn and illustrated, blah blah blah. And I also use like real press-on nails, and it's like multimedia, 3D, super cute. And I made copies of it, and that's what I sell. Like I make copies and then like digitize it a bit. But then with the original one, like when I would display it at our tables, people would like try to buy it, and I'd be like, oh no, I'm not selling that one. Like that's the original one. Like, it's the only one that I have. And then I met a different artist. I met another artist around that time who like we were at a market with, who did like paintings. And she was talking about how her works are priced at like $17,000, $27,000. Like, and she's like pretty like, you know, not amateur, but like not like, you know, famous.
Not prolific or
right. Or not famous or anything like that yet.
Mhm.
And so at first when she said these prices, I was like, are you just like saying a random number? Or is that really the price? And she's like, no, that's definitely the price. Like if you really think about the art industry, like the fact that most artists start out undervaluing themselves and then sell off their work that people later make millions off of that the artist will never see, like it's really sad. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. And that's so true. Like what, like when I really think of the number that it would take for me to be willing to part with this thing that I've
like
made,
this one. This thing, how many hours have you put into this?
yeah, like this has taken me months of my life. Like I would like to make copies of it, but there's like literal, like I'm not just gonna just I don't want to just sell it
For $20?
yeah, like
No.
it's a piece of art, just like anything else. And then also I went to the Basquiat King Pleasure exhibit. That was when it was in LA. And something that I loved was that his family has kept so much of his work like down from when he was like a kid in his
Toddler.
like elementary school sketchbooks. And they're like in this gallery, these kids sketchbook drawings are in this gallery being shown. And I'm like, wow, everything that I ever make is great. And that's just really all that I need to worry about, like, and just keep making things and like treating them as valuable as they are. Because why is it when somebody else sees the value in it that you decide that it's valuable? Like, what if you just felt that way?
Yeah.
Already.
So this one's 10,000, but when she figures out how to make copies of it and we get it online, it'll probably be $5 to $10 of sorts.
Yeah.
But look at this, it's so cool.
Yay. But yeah.
Yeah, I like that that's a zine you made with your therapist, or I wish all therapists would do that. That'd be really fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm gonna take that therapy note. Hold
Wait a
on to that.
minute. Wait a
That's
minute.
good.
Wait a minute.
It's good.
Let me write that down. Any last minute questions? We have 5 minutes left before we hop off. Anything burning inside of your hearts and your souls?
Mhm. Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh, thanks, Steph T.
My favorite zine that wasn't made by myself was made by a Black zinester that we met in Oceanside, San Diego. Oceanside Zine Fest?
Oceanside, California.
California.
Yeah.
Oceanside, California, I mean. And it is a bunch of like copies of like the inside of her notes app. And so
Oh.
she just like made her notes app and like different excerpts from it into a physical zine. I would again show it to you, but the zine library is nowhere to be found right
Yeah,
now.
it's all over the place. And
That's my
then
favorite.
that's a really good one. One of my favorites, one of them is a mini zine called, I think it's, what is it?
Which one?
Existential Dread
Oh,
Snail.
yes.
And it's this little snail experiencing existential
That one's
dread.
so
And it's
good.
just so funny.
Yeah, John Dishwasher knows that one.
Yeah.
That one's so funny.
The LAPD Stop LAPD Spying has a zine about like the history of like all the police chiefs in LA since like I mean,
It's like the 70s, I think.
yeah, I'm
A
like
long
at least.
time.
That should, oh yeah, John Dishwasher has a zine.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, that one is so good.
So good. Love it. Of course, John Dishwasher has the zine.
John Dishwasher, you're a household name. I want you to know this. When people talk about zines, they talk about you, John Dishwasher. No, for real.
You're at
I'm
every
telling
zine
you.
event. It's legendary.
Legendary, legendary. I know your name.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I can't think of any others right now, but we definitely have so many. We're gonna do a video soon of like our zine
I
library.
think you're probably mistaking me for Dishwasher Pete. He's the famous one.
I don't know who that is.
Dishwasher
I
Pete's
know
super
John
famous. I'm
Dishwasher.
not famous. So people confuse me with. Oh,
Nah.
Will you? I guess sent you a text with some free zines that I like, so you can drop it into the
Okay.
chat before we get out.
Oh, okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. We're gonna send a link of some free zines that we like. Ooh,
That you can print at home.
nice. Resource lady.
Oh, you know I'm a resource lady. Put them in here. Blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
Yeah. So those are some of our favorite free zines. And sometimes we'll print them out and have them at our table, depending on the event and the vibe. Cool. Thanks for being here. Julie,
Thanks.
put the Instagrams in there.
Oh,
We're gonna share our Instagrams so you can follow us in the future for other things that we'll do.
yay.
Yeah.
I don't do that part. Woohoo. Should I put an email address?
Yeah, put it, that feels business.
I'll put an email address.
Yeah, we have an
should you want
email.
it.
This is Julie's pen name, Irie Ingenue. And so if you're like, who is that? That's just
It's
her
me.
pen name. It's also Julie.
I've been struggling with all the identities I've created for myself, but
Yes, but Irie is
it's me.
Julie.
It's me. Wow. Thanks for listening to us. Silly wacky gooses. Geese?
Gisai.
It's definitely not geese side, that's for sure.
Gisai.
And this was a great turnout. We had 16 participants at one point, and usually we only have like 4 or 5, so that was really good. So thank you for being amazing Zine Maker guest speakers, and we're so excited to hear all about your first ever Black Zine Fest, and I can't wait to attend the next one, hopefully. And then I'm gonna definitely buy the zines I saw on your big cartel that you showcased today.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, this was cool.
Looking forward to the next thing.
Bye. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you so
Bye,
much.
everyone. Happy April.
Bye.
Mhm.
Okay.